You know, hand tracking on headsets like the Quest 3. For years, it kind of felt like a cool tech demo, right? A bit of a gimmick. But lately, with all these software updates, has it finally crossed the line? Has it gone from a neat novelty to a genuinely useful, maybe even a better way to interact in VR? Well, let's dive in and figure that out.
So here's how we're going to break it all down. First, we're going to pull back the curtain on how the tech actually works. Then we'll look at the apps where it's absolutely amazing and where it, well, still falls flat on its face. After that, we'll put hands and controllers in the ring for a head-to-head showdown. And finally, we'll deliver our verdict on whether it's truly ready for prime time.
All right, first things first. How in the world does your headset see and understand what your hands are doing without any controllers? Let's get into the magic behind the cameras.
The secret sauce is something called markerless optical tracking. Now, if you've ever seen behind the scenes for a movie, you know they use those special suits with all the little reflective dots for motion capture. This is nothing like that. Your Quest does everything with its own built-in cameras. It's all happening right there on the device itself, which is honestly just an incredible feat of engineering.
It might seem super complex, but it really boils down to this four-step dance. Step 1, the cameras just spot that a hand is in view. Step 2, a clever AI model maps out 26 key points. Think knuckles, fingertips, all the joints. Step 3, another model takes those points and figures out the full 3D pose of your hand. And finally, step 4, all that data gets zacked over to the VR app and poof, you see your hand. And this all happens in milliseconds. It's crazy fast.
Okay, so we know how it works, but let's talk about where it works brilliantly. Because in some cases, using your hands just feels so right. It makes holding a controller feel totally clumsy and old-fashioned.
First up, let's look at a game like Maestro, the orchestra conductor. This is just a masterclass in designing for hand tracking, not just tacking it on as an afterthought. I mean, the whole point is conducting an orchestra, so your hands are always out in front, right in the camera's sweet spot. And they did something really smart with the fermata mechanic. You make a static fist, and that simple, clear pose lets the tracking lock on with basically 100% reliability. Genius.
Now let's switch gears completely and talk about cubism. This isn't about speed at all. It's this super chill, thoughtful puzzle game. And when you're not flailing your arms around, you realize just how incredibly precise the tracking can be. Picking up a little block, turning it over in your fingers, and gently slotting it into place, it feels so tactile and natural, you completely forget you're not holding anything.
And this one is huge. Just navigating menus and hanging out in social VR. Think about it. You hand a headset to someone who's never tried VR before. Controllers can be super intimidating. Which button do I press? What's a thumbstick? With hand tracking, you just point, you pinch, you grab. The learning curve is gone. It just works the way you expect it to, which makes VR so much more welcoming for everybody.
Okay, let's pump the brakes a little. As awesome as it can be, hand tracking is far from perfect. It's time for a little reality check. Let's dig into the situations where this tech can get really frustrating and completely shatter that sense of immersion.
When things go wrong, it usually boils down to one of three main culprits. First, there's occlusion, which is just a fancy way of saying the cameras can't see your hands. Then there's lighting, which is a much bigger deal than you might think. And finally, latency, that tiny little delay that becomes a huge problem when you start moving fast. Occlusion is probably the one you'll run into most often. Just think about it. The cameras are on the front of the headset, looking out. So if you clap your hands, or one hand moves behind the other, or you reach too far off to the side, boom, the cameras lose sight. It's like trying to see through your own hand. You can't do it, and neither can the Quest.
Now this is where it gets really interesting. Check out this hardware difference. The Quest 3, the more expensive headset, relies on the light you and I can see. So if your room is dimly lit, the tracking quality takes a nosedive. But the cheaper Quest 3S, it has these dedicated infrared illuminators. They basically act like invisible floodlights for the cameras, letting it track your hands perfectly even in a pitch-black room. Yeah, you heard that right. The cheaper model is actually better for low-light hand tracking. Wild!
All right, let's talk about speed, or the lack of it. Independent tests have clocked the hand tracking latency on the Quest 3 at around 70 milliseconds. Now, that sounds incredibly fast, and for a lot of things it is, but it's not instant. And that tiny gap between when you move and when your virtual hand moves, well, it starts to matter a whole lot when the action heats up.
And that latency is exactly why you're not going to top the leaderboards in Beat Saber using just your hands. Think about a fast-paced fitness app where you're punching targets, or any rhythm game. That 70-millisecond delay is the difference between a perfect hit and a complete miss. For those kinds of high-speed, reflexive experiences, you just gotta have controllers.
So, we've laid out the good and the bad, which brings us, naturally, to the big showdown. Hands versus controllers. When should you ditch the plastic and go all natural? And when is it better to stick with what you know?
This table really just lays it all out, doesn't it? Hand tracking is absolutely king for social apps, navigating menus, and just casual experiences. But for precision gaming and fast-paced action, controllers still wear the crown. The big win for hands is that pure immersion and how easy it is for anyone to pick up. For controllers, you get buttons, you get reliability, and you get that all-important haptic feedback.
And honestly, this quote from a Reddit user named Popular-Edition9419 just hits the nail right on the head. They said, hand tracking feels kind of floaty. And that's it. That floaty feeling is the total lack of haptics. There's no little rumble when you grab something, no satisfying click of a trigger. That physical feedback from a controller grounds you in the world in a way that hand tracking just can't. Not yet, anyway.
Okay, it's time to bring it all home. After looking at the tech, the wins, the fails, let's answer that big question we asked at the very beginning.
So, what's the deal? Has it finally arrived? Is hand tracking truly good enough to be the main way we do things in VR? But before I give you the final verdict, just look at this timeline. This technology is not standing still. It's evolving at a shocking pace. Just a couple of years ago, Hands 2.0 got way better at handling occlusion, then 2.2/latency, and now they're working on AI that can actually predict your hand's motion to make tracking feel smoother. Meta is pouring a ton of energy into making this better, all through software.
So here it is, the verdict. Hand tracking on the Quest 3 is an incredible, amazing, and rapidly maturing option. But it is not yet a total replacement for controllers. It's all about using the right tool for the job. For watching a movie, hanging out with friends, or playing a slow-paced puzzle game, it's not just good enough, it's fantastic. It's often way better. But for that hardcore, high-speed gaming session, you're still going to want to grab your controllers.
And that kind of leaves us with one last question, and this one's for you. What would it take? What's the one single feature or improvement that would make you put your controllers in a drawer and never look back? Is it zero latency, perfect tracking in any light, or maybe some kind of futuristic glove with haptic feedback? Let us know what you think.